The story opens in a crowded courtroom. The atmosphere is tense as lawyers argue a case about the custody of a little black girl, Zara, and her future. Sitting quietly beside her mother, Zara observes the room with curious eyes. The presiding judge, Charles Avery, listens intently, his stern gaze focused on the case. As the heated debate continues, Zara's eyes remain fixed on the judge. There's something familiar about him, something she can't ignore. Suddenly, Zara interrupts the courtroom, standing up and pointing at Judge Avery. Her small but confident voice cuts through the noise. "You're my dad." The courtroom falls silent. Want to find out what happens next in this heartfelt story of identity, love, and reconciliation? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and follow for more powerful stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. The courtroom remains silent, the weight of Zara's words hanging in the air. Judge Avery's face is frozen in shock, his composed exterior shattered for the first time in his career. The lawyers exchange confused glances, unsure of how to proceed. Tasha, Zara's mother, pulls her daughter close, whispering for her to stay quiet, but the damage is done. The judge stammers before calling for a recess, his voice unsteady. As the courtroom empties, Zara watches the judge intently. Tasha kneels in front of her, visibly upset. "Why did you say that, baby?" she whispers. Zara looks at her mother with innocent determination. "Because it's true, isn't it?" In his chambers, Judge Avery paces back and forth, his mind racing. Memories of his younger years resurface, his brief romance with Tasha, the way they drifted apart, and the possibility that Zara could be his child. He pores over the case files, trying to regain focus, but Zara's words echo in his mind. Meanwhile, in the courthouse hallway, Tasha struggles to contain her emotions. A lawyer approaches her, suggesting the judge might remove himself from the case due to a conflict of interest. Tasha shakes her head, fearing the repercussions of the truth coming to light. Zara, sitting quietly on a bench, catches sight of Judge Avery through the glass of his office door. She tilts her head, her expression a mixture of curiosity and sadness. She doesn't understand all the complexities, but she knows she's opened a door that can't be closed. The recess ends. As everyone returns to the courtroom, the tension is palpable. Judge Avery takes his seat, avoiding Zara's gaze. His hands tremble slightly as he addresses the court. "Before we proceed, I need to discuss a matter in chambers with the counsel and the involved parties. Bailiff, please escort the child out." Zara looks back at the judge as she's led away, her eyes filled with questions. The doors close behind her, leaving her words and their implications lingering in the room. In the judge's chambers, the air is heavy with unspoken tension. Judge Avery sits behind his desk, his usual commanding presence replaced by uncertainty. Tasha and her lawyer stand across from him, their expressions wary. Judge Avery clears his throat, breaking the silence. "I need the truth," he says, his voice low but firm. He looks directly at Tasha. "Is Zara my daughter?" Tasha hesitates, her hands trembling. She glances at her lawyer, who nods subtly, encouraging her to speak. Finally, she meets the judge's gaze, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes. She's yours." The words hit him like a tidal wave. He leans back in his chair, trying to process the revelation. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asks, his voice tinged with both anger and pain. Tasha's eyes fill with tears. "You were building your career, Charles. You had your whole life ahead of you. I didn't want to burden you. And by the time I thought about telling you, it felt too late." Judge Avery exhales deeply, running a hand through his hair. "This changes everything," he mutters. He looks up at Tasha, his expression softening. "I had a right to know. And more importantly, Zara has a right to know her father." Tasha nods, tears streaming down her face. "I know," she says. "But I was scared. Scared of what you'd say, of how this would affect her." Before they can say more, the bailiff knocks on the door, signaling that the courtroom is ready to resume. Judge Avery straightens up, his professional demeanor returning. We'll continue this conversation later, he says, his tone resolute. Back in the courtroom, Zara watches as her mother and the judge return. She doesn't understand everything that's happening, but she senses that something has shifted. When Judge Avery speaks, his voice is calm but determined. In light of new information, I'm recusing myself from this case, he announces. Another judge will be assigned to ensure fairness and impartiality. He pauses, glancing at Zara. However, I want to make it clear that I intend to be part of this child's life moving forward. Gasps ripple through the courtroom, but Zara's face lights up with a small, hopeful smile. For the first time, she feels seen. As the session concludes, Judge Avery approaches Zara and kneels to her level. I'd like to talk to you soon, he says gently. If that's okay with you. Zara nods, her eyes shining with tears. Okay, she whispers. Weeks have passed since the courtroom revelation. The media caught wind of the dramatic moment, and Judge Avery has kept a low profile, stepping away from public cases temporarily. He has been grappling with the implications of Zara's words and the responsibility that comes with them. Meanwhile, Tasha is torn between protecting Zara and giving her the relationship she's longed for. She agrees to meet with Judge Avery at a park, neutral ground where Zara can see him without the pressure of formalities. The day of the meeting arrives. Zara is nervous but excited, clutching a small drawing she made, a family portrait with herself in the middle, Tasha on one side, and Judge Avery on the other. As they approach the park bench where Judge Avery waits, Tasha whispers to Zara, "You don't have to say anything you don't want to, okay? Just be yourself." Zara nods, holding her mother's hand tightly. Judge Avery stands as they approach, his usual polished demeanor replaced by a soft, uncertain smile. "Hi, Zara," he says, his voice gentle. "It's nice to see you again." Zara hesitates for a moment, then steps forward and hands him the drawing. "I made this for you," she says quietly. Judge Avery looks at the picture, his eyes misting over. "Thank you," he says, his voice thick with emotion. "This is beautiful." He kneels to her level, looking into her eyes. "I want to get to know you, Zara. If that's okay with you." Zara nods shyly. "Okay," she whispers. Tasha watches from a short distance, her heart conflicted. She's never seen Zara this vulnerable, yet this hopeful. As Judge Avery and Zara begin talking, she allows herself a small smile. Over the next few weeks, Judge Avery becomes a more consistent presence in Zara's life. He takes her on small outings, helps with her school projects, and even attends one of her school events. Zara begins to feel the warmth of having a father figure, something she had only dreamed of before. One evening, as Zara prepares for bed, she looks up at Tasha. "Mom, do you think he loves me?" she asks innocently. Tasha kneels beside her, brushing back her hair. "I think he's learning to love you more and more every day," she says softly. The story comes full circle when Zara invites Judge Avery to her school's family day. As they walk into the event together, Zara proudly introduces him to her classmates and teachers. "This is my dad," she says with a beaming smile. Judge Avery, no longer the stoic figure from the courtroom, looks down at Zara and squeezes her hand. "That's right," he says. "And I'm the luckiest dad in the world." The journey has been long and complicated, but for Zara, Tasha, and Judge Avery, it's the beginning of a new and hopeful chapter. The story ends with Zara walking out of the courthouse holding her mother's hand, glancing back at Judge Avery. Though the future is uncertain, a new chapter has begun for all of them. Months have passed, and the bond between Zara and Judge Avery has grown stronger. Tasha, too, begins to see a change in the once distant man she knew. He is no longer just a judge, he is a father trying to make up for lost time. Despite their progress, challenges remain. Judge Avery struggles to balance his demanding career with his newfound responsibilities as a father. Zara, though happy, sometimes feels unsure of her place in his world, and Tasha harbors lingering fears about whether he will stay in their lives for the long term. One evening, Zara invites Judge Avery to dinner at their small apartment. Tasha is hesitant but agrees, knowing it's important for Zara to see them together as a family. As they sit around the table, the atmosphere is initially awkward. Judge Avery looks out of place in a modest setting, but Zara's excitement keeps the mood light. During the meal, Zara asks, "Will you come to my next school play? I'm going to be the star." Judge Avery smiles warmly. "I wouldn't miss it for the world," he promises. Tasha watches the exchange silently, her heart softening. After dinner, as Zara plays in her room, Tasha and Judge Avery sit together on the couch. "I didn't think you'd stick around this long," Tasha admits, her voice tinged with vulnerability. Judge Avery looks at her seriously. "I'll admit, I didn't know what I was getting into," he says. "But Zara, she's changed me. I want to be here for her, for as long as she'll let me." Tasha nods, her eyes misting over. "She deserves that. Just don't break her heart. She's been through enough."